Yeah, but oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it going? Okay, cool. Hey, welcome everybody. I see most of you have found a seat, so there is a number of seats left up here for those that need one. This is a special night for us. Not everybody's been, here for the last year. I know we have some new faces here tonight, but man, when Jerry and I started this last year, we weren't sure what the response would be, what it would look like. I remember Jerry was sharing at April Crosley's group in Berks County up in Reading, and we just decided, hey, let's throw a date on the calendar and announce it, make it public. And then we didn't have a name, we didn't have a venue, but at some point you just got to pull the trigger. So at April's meeting, we announced that we were starting a meetup 5 weeks later. And who was there at the first one a year ago? Awesome. Yeah, we weren't sure how big a room to get. We had over 110 people that wanted to come and packed into the little room at the end of the hall. That was tight. And it wasn't as cold then. That was stuffy. But a little more breathing room here tonight. So it's been an awesome journey. We'll have a little bit of a different night here. So it should be fun. Why am I the only one up here, Jerry? Because you don't want to read this part, isn't that right?
I'll read that part. I'm trying to get my microphone turned on.
I'll start and you can take over if you like to. All right, so the Elevate Investing Group and its affiliates do not provide tax, legal, investing, or accounting advice. This material has been prepared for informational
And educational.
purposes only.
Entertainment purposes.
You should consult your own tax, legal, investing, and accounting advisor before engaging in any transaction. The material that follows should not be construed as an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy any security. We are not soliciting any action based on this material. It is for educational purpose. It is only for educational purposes.
We should just have everyone stand up and do it like a pledge of allegiance. And we can read this like every week. That would be so awesome.
We can vote on that later. Make that a new part of it.
Okay.
All right, so, well, we have a sponsor tonight. It's Ethan Gibble with Gibble Insurance Agency. He's not able to be here, so I'll put his info up here. If you need insurance, if you want to check your quotes, Ethan has been awesome. When I moved over to Ethan, it was literally thousands of dollars, and that was when we had a lot less property than we did today. One of the things I think is amazing about Ethan, number one, he's an investor, so he speaks our language, he knows what we want and need, works with multiple different companies, so he's not just, State Farm or whatever other one out there, he shops them. And then in the last probably 9 months, as 2 of my policies have lapsed, without me ever asking, he just called up a month ahead of time and said, hey, we found you a better policy, saved you $300 a year. This one, we saved you $1,200 a year. So they're like actively, yeah, totally unusual. So very easy for him to be a sponsor, done business with him for a long time, great guy. All right, well, we reached out to some of our friends and mentors and teachers and some of the people who've been a part of this year. And so
how many of you know who this guy is? Anyone in the room? All right, awesome.
And if anyone doesn't, this is Robert Helms with the Real Estate Guys. You can see his branding there. It had been the largest podcast. I think they're in the top 3 now, but 190 countries, just a massive following. It's his investment conference on a cruise ship that Jerry and I have had so many meals with Robert Kiyosaki and Ed Griffin and all kinds of Peter Schiff and Simon Black and all kinds of amazing people. So Robert's been a great friend and an awesome mentor, and he wanted to say hello tonight. Okay, but we're going to want to listen to what that is. All right.
So we want to be, where's the cord?
Well, playing hide and seek with the cord here.
Oh, there it is. Sorry about that, folks.
We're real estate guys, not techie guys, in case you can't tell.
Let's try that again.
All right, how do we rewind here? Well, let's do this. Oh, let's try that.
Well, hi everybody, it's Robert Helms, host of the Real Estate Guys radio program here, celebrating a year of the Elevate Investing Group. That is so awesome. So whether this is your first meeting or you've been here the whole time, it's awesome that you guys are getting educated about real estate, and I can't wait to be a part of it in year number 2.
Wait a minute, what's he talking about? All right. Robert is awesome, Robert and Russ with the Real Estate Guys. He's going to give us a special coupon code for our group for their annual goals setting seminar. It's incredible. I went the last 2 years. This last year, me and Kristen went. If you can go with your life partner, it really helps to make your life goals with your life partner. So I'll send an email out for that, but he was very generous with that. All right, Kyle Wilson is an amazing man. He was the mastermind helping to pull some strings of our 2-day conference that we did at the Marriott this year. That wouldn't have been anything close to what it was without Kyle's help and wisdom on that. So he's a coach, a friend, a mentor, and he wanted to say hi as well.
Hey, Michael and Jerry, hello from Texas. Hey, congratulations, guys, on an amazing first year. So excited. You have the most incredible people. It's my honor to be part of your event last June, and just love everything you guys are doing. You lead with the heart, and you guys have massive experience. So keep up the amazing work. Hello, everyone in Pennsylvania. Love from Texas. Talk soon.
So many of you may not know who Kyle Wilson is. I had no idea until long after I'd met him and we had become friends. He's actually the guy who, how many of you know who Jim Rohn is? Does that name mean anything? I had never actually heard of him. How weird is that? But Kyle is actually the guy who brought Jim Rohn to the public eye many years ago and built the whole motivational thinking, kind of motivational success seminar thing, and he was friends with Zig Ziglar and a whole bunch of those guys. So we feel like we're in really great company with Kyle. We love him. He's become a close friend. And he's also the guy who published the book that Michael and I wrote with some other friends, and are working on some other books as well.
Yeah, awesome guy. If you guys connect with Kyle, he has a 52 lessons email thing that you can get on if you find him online. Every week for a whole year, he shares a lesson that he learned from Jim Rohn or one of his mentors. So that's a pretty cool free thing that he does for folks. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what is going to be in store tonight. So Jared and I have prepared 6 keys for success, things that we found have been important in our lives. You know, we all have our own journey, but it's so helpful to get around people who have done things that you are inspired by and learn what's important to them and see what you can apply to your own life. After that, we'll do some commercial real estate investing trivia. And then we're going to announce the dates for our 2020 Elevate Investing Summit, which may be what Robert was alluding to, but we can't confirm or deny these claims.
Oh, we could.
We could, but we
All right, we
shall
should.
not.
Okay.
So, to start with, what is success?
Well, that's a good question because I think everyone has a different idea of success. And you know, one of the things that has always really bothered me is most people in our hearts, whether we admit it to ourselves or to others or not, most of us feel in our heart of hearts that success is about having more money. And even though we deny it, and if I said that to you, you say, no, it's not true. And yet you would go to work and work like 50 hours a week, put out as much as you can, and claim that it has nothing to do with money. I'm pretty sure if the money stopped, you'd stop going. How many of you are honest enough to say that? Okay, maybe you'd stop going if the money stopped flowing. But the point is, most of us have this crazy idea that if we just had an endless stream of money, that would be success because people who have money have options. And so what is success? Is it the money or is it the options that we really want? So tonight we want to talk a little bit about how to get to the place of success, but it helps to know what you're really looking for and what that success would look like. I know one of the things that Michael and I heard Kyle say recently, which I thought was really fascinating. He'd say, when you look ahead to your business plans, if you got absolutely everything you want, and it happened right now today, how would you feel about that? Is that really what you really want? That's a good exercise for all of us to try at some point in time. But I want to encourage you to be able to shift your thinking tonight as far as what success is. What is it that really brings that sense of meaning and joy and destiny and being alive to your life? Is it really having more zeros in your bank account? Because that's actually something that's very easy to accomplish. But I can tell you with all honesty that that's not really what you're looking for, whether you think it is or not.
Yeah. And I love what you said there, because to me, success is fulfilling everything I've been created to do. I believe everyone has been created with a purpose and a destiny, and it's different for each person. So to put something up on the screen of what success is, man, if you try hard to accomplish what I've been put on the earth to do, that would be a really empty life's purpose and passion. So sometimes we look at what somebody else is doing or what somebody else is accomplishing, and we think, boy, if I could just do that, if I could just have that, then I would feel closer to that place of success. Instead of looking, who have I been created to be, and what's in my heart? Now sometimes we see something in another person's life that puts the spark of, hey, that's for me. You know, what they're doing is part of what I want to be doing, and hopefully that's why many of you are here tonight, because there's things either in Jerry and I's life, or probably more accurately in the people that are here, that you know connecting with others helps you fulfill who you've been created to be.
Somebody said a definition for success is the realization of a worthwhile goal, and that's true for any of us in any endeavor in life. So I want to encourage you tonight to think about what success would look like to you as we talk about the 6 keys that we feel have been most instrumental in laying a foundation for us to achieve the goals that we want to achieve in our lives.
So with that, Jerry, key number 1.
Key number 1 is journaling. Now, that's not really a real estate thing, or maybe it is. I mean, honestly, I might be writing some things in my journal about real estate that I'm pursuing. But in all honesty, I want to go, I'm kind of the guy who always goes a little bit outside the room to look in and to see what's happening. And I do that with my own life. I like to take a faraway view and say, okay, what's this really looking like and what is it supposed to look like? Did any of you ever think how odd it is that people like Benjamin Franklin and Abraham Lincoln and Leonardo da Vinci, they kept journals, and we can read their journals now and see how they thought. And it's kind of interesting. Isn't that a coincidence that they kept journals, but taxi cab drivers oftentimes don't keep journals? That's just a remarkable coincidence. Or is it a coincidence? Does anyone think that's a coincidence? Well, I'm here to tell you that journaling actually creates some things going on up here that change your intelligence level. So oftentimes people don't say, well, you know, how can I become more cognizant of the details happening around in my life? Well, journaling would be a really good place to start. And there's so many things that journaling does for us. Now, a lot of you are like tuning out already. I'm sorry. This is like as exciting as it's going to get. All right? So if you can lay hold of the thoughts that God puts in your mind and understand how to act on them, I can assure you it's going to take your life to a level far beyond what you could ever imagine, ask, or think. Now, many times people think of journaling, and I've done this myself, and you probably have as well. When you get up in the morning, how many times does all kind of crazy thoughts flood your mind of all the things that you need to get done today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, next month, and oh my goodness, there was that wedding, and I didn't even buy a present for it yet, and all these things. Does that happen to any of you, or is that just me? Okay, so some of you. So one of the first things that journaling does is if you write down those things, you get them out of your mind. And what happens, have you ever been sitting at your computer, you're computing and everything's going well, and you open another window and things kind of slow down, and you open another window, somebody sends you an email, you click on a link, and then your web browser opens, and all of a sudden your system, and it's done. And you got to reboot the whole machine. That ever happened to anyone in here? Okay, well, our brains are kind of the same way. And our lives are constantly opening other windows to other avenues of thought and things that we're trying to process and answers that we need to life and questions and unresolved conversations we've had with people. And if we let those things in there, eventually there's going to be a system crash that's going to result in a necessary reboot. And that's okay. That's not like the worst thing in the world. However, when you journal, it's like making an intentional reboot of your brain. And so if you will simply sit down at night or in the morning and write down the things that are stacking up, that you're having difficulty wrapping your mind around anymore because there's just a little too many of them, you'll be able to clear your mind, empty your mind, and then focus on an intelligent thought that will actually take your life forward. Did you ever think about the fact that when you're sitting at your computer and an email pops in, maybe you were working on something and an email pops in and you answer it because I'd like to get that off my to-do list, so you just answer it. While you're answering, 3 more pop in, and so you say, I should probably get them off my to-do list as well. And a half an hour or 2 hours later, you're still cleaning up your inbox and you realize, you know what, I gave away the last hour or 2 of my life voluntarily to people I don't even know, that I don't even care about, that I don't even want to have a conversation with, because you lost your focus. Is this making sense to anybody? Journaling is the same thing. It's deciding that you're going to take charge and authority of your own life. You're going to have a plan and decide where it's going to go so that you can get to the place that you see in your heart, the purpose for which you were created. Does this make sense to anyone? So that's just the very first step, is cleaning the thoughts out of your mind. And the steps beyond that are to begin to press on and to develop an intellect that makes you a creative genius, because that, I believe, is who God wants each one of us to be. You were created by a creator to be able to create. That's true, actually. I know it sounds like one of those corny things that people say to be funny. There's no attempt to be funny. That's reality. And your highest calling and destiny and purpose is to create new realities for other people, to create projects, to create businesses, to create way of approaching and solving problems. But if you let all this stuff run around in the muck of your mind and clog things up, that can never happen. So the first thing is to get all the stuff off the board and to open a new window on the computer of your mind and to focus on it and to deal with it. And if you'll begin to write, I can assure you that thoughts will come to your mind that you don't know where they came from, and they're good thoughts. And if you will process those thoughts, they'll take you to places beyond what you can imagine or think. And that's where most of the best thoughts in my life come. There are times when I'm just simply journaling and praying at the same time while I'm journaling, asking the Lord for better thoughts than I could come up with, and then pursue those things. And I've had the most amazing successes in stuff that I should never have been able to figure out because of the habit and discipline of journaling.
That's awesome.
I can see your eyes
I
wide
actually
open.
am.
You look like you're ready to pass out.
I'm ready to start journaling. That's what I'm ready to start doing. That was awesome. I need to work on this one. Well, key number 2. Oh, we have a guest. We have a guest speaker. Give it up for Sue Horst.
Everybody give a big hand for the amazing Sue Horst.
Right, wow, we get a bonus key. This is exciting. What I was thinking about tonight for all of you is just, here we are in the month of November already. And what is your favorite holiday that we have this month? Who can shout it out?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. It's something that we get to celebrate, and I love Thanksgiving because it's the first of all the winter feasts, the holiday feasts. You want me over this way?
You're fine there. Right there.
Okay. So I'm going to just share about gratitude and Thanksgiving, and what did you put? Gratitude. So I love these little books. Any of you have any of these little books? Yeah, they're really awesome. This is the Zig Ziglar Little Book of Big Quotes. And as far as his part on attitude, he said, of all the attitudes we can acquire, surely the attitude of gratitude is the most important and by far the most life-changing. So we're going to talk a little bit about an attitude of gratitude. There's another man, he says, thankfulness is the door to destiny. That's a quote by Chris Valentin. And I think all of us in this room, we're all leaders. We're all leaders in our own spheres. Some of us lead businesses. Some of us lead families. We're mothers who lead children. We're teachers who lead classrooms. We're all leaders in our respective fields. So each one, I just want you to see yourself as a leader. And one of the most effective things I think you can do each and every day is to start the day with a thankful heart. Kyle Wilson, who was up here, Kyle is amazing. Every day he starts his day thinking about the people in his life who he's most grateful for. He thinks about the experiences in life, and that's one of the things I love doing. About 4 years ago, I heard a message by our pastor, Charles Stock, at our church, and he really challenged us as people to start thankfulness. He called it thankful heart journals, or you could call it gratitude journals. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to start, doing this. And so I was real fancy. I spent a lot of money, and I went to Staples and I got the pack of these really drab notebooks. You can go online and you can find some really cool gratitude journals. But if you're my husband, you're going to have an iPad, and that's where you're going to put you're going to journal your thankful things you're thankful for. But believe it or not, I have filled up 2 of these, both sides of the page, in the past 4 years, just by journaling what I'm thankful for. And every day, or if I miss a day or 2, it's not a big deal. But I visit this thing, at least 3 times a week, and I write what I'm thankful for. As you go back and you read what you've journaled, it's really amazing. And Jerry, you didn't share about the power of journals, about what you leave behind.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Share that.
And I heard that actually, that was from an interview I heard with Tom Ziglar, who is Zig Ziglar's son. He recently wrote a book, which I bought and haven't read yet, but it's a step in the right direction. Most books are never read, but those that are happier. That's a known fact.
Feels great to buy books.
It does feel great. I mean, when you see that package come from Amazon, you think, wow, I'm really improving. So he wrote this book, and he talked about the power of leaving journals for your children. Now, in fact, he said something, I think he gets the cheat because I think he has 1 child, and I thought this was really cool. But he said he made a decision that he was going to write a 1-sentence journal every day for a year and give it as a gift to his child. And I thought, man, that is so meaningful. That's like incredible. And he thought that was the best Christmas gift he could give his child. And I thought I agree, that's really cool. And he said, in fact, I decided that I was going to text my children each day. I thought, wow, that's great. I have 7 kids. 5 of them are married, so that's 12. The grandchildren will soon be old enough to have their own iPhones, and they'll be expecting a text. Oh my goodness, this is going to be overloading. So anyway, I did not enter into that, but it was a neat thought for him because I think he has 1 child. But one of the things that he said that I thought was interesting is he said that you should really write a journal with a pencil, on a piece of paper, because no one will ever read your electronic journals ever. And I'm thinking to myself, seriously, who can even read cursive? I can't even read my own cursive. 50 years from now, is that even going to exist? They don't even teach that in school, I don't think. So it's going to be like ancient hieroglyphics. So would you really study ancient hieroglyphics to read something your dead grandpa left you? Probably not. So I disagree with him on that point. If you can't tell, I'm very much an electronic gadget journal person, and I do that for a number of reasons. The most important reason is I actually want to read it because I want to remember what thoughts I was processing and how I got there and how I made the decision. I don't want to be encumbered with the emotional stress of trying to understand my handwriting, and that's me. So your handwriting may be different. That's my experience. Secondly, I love the fact that by having it electronically, I have a copy of the exact same thing in every electronic device myself or Sue owns. So I can pick up any of them in mid-sentence and finish a thought. And to me, I wouldn't know where a handwritten journal is. It's probably lost someplace. But I know where my real thoughts are.
Mine are neatly tucked in a drawer, exactly where they're supposed to be.
And I can't read them because they're in another language.
But, you know, I just, being thankful makes you a powerful person. You know, we all really don't enjoy being around ourselves or others if the glass is half full, do we? But the person, I mean half empty, sorry. But the glass that's half full, that person we really love being with. And I know that the more we cultivate really, truly being thankful for the people in our lives that mean the most to us, to the experiences, just to be a person that was born here in the United States or now resides here and all the opportunities, it's just phenomenal, really phenomenal. I'm gonna end with a proverb, 15:15. Everything seems to go wrong when you feel weak and depressed, and we've all been there. But when you choose to be cheerful, every day will bring you more and more joy and fullness. I think that's pretty cool. So I not only want to be a person with a glass that's half full, but I want to be a person who's thankful and thankful and thankful, and my glass gets fuller and fuller and fuller, and that it overflows. And then when I see you, you're like, wow, this feels good, because, you know, if we have a thankful heart, people feel it and they experience that in us. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Sue. Everybody give it up to you. Amazing.
Awesome. I just want to add one thing to that. There's a verse in the Bible that has completely revolutionized my life the last 15 years, and I think it's in Romans, but it says, God causes all things to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. So I don't believe that every bad thing that happens is God's will, but I do believe that if I respond to it correctly, he can use it to my advantage, which completely changes everything. There's such a victim mindset in so many people in our culture today, where they put the blame on all of their unhappiness, on everything except their own decisions and choices. And it's completely disempowering and not even accurate. What kind of a different attitude and life approach would you have if it didn't matter what happened, you could be grateful that God's going to use it to your advantage? So it doesn't matter if it's something good or it's something bad. You know, there's verses that talk about consider it joy when you encounter various trials. You know, that's a different way to look at things, but it's actually empowering and changes everything. So I love this because in everything we can be thankful, whether it feels good on the outside or not. Having that attitude through the hard times is what is going to promote you in life way faster than sitting around and whining about stuff. So,
Which doesn't really actually help at all. I'm just saying.
I agree with that. All right, key number 2, infinite returns. You guys knew I was going to do this one.
Everybody give a hand for Michael and the infinite returns. I'm pretty sure Michael invented the concept of infinite returns, and it is mind-blowing.
I would have liked to. So this is a concept I haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad in 15 years. I don't know if he talks about it in there, but you know, there's a big difference between reading about something versus experiencing it, right? So Kristen and I we bought 2 single-family houses, and she got pregnant. We were looking for a larger building that would replace her part-time income. Amazing. It's actually wrote more details on the story in our book that we have in the back. But we ended up buying this 10-unit building. Got an amazing deal on it. It's a really cool story. So we bought this thing with cash. We got a hard money loan to buy it in cash. We refinanced it 2 months later. It appraised for $150,000 more than we bought it for. So we got all the money back from the lender to pay off the hard money loan, and they gave us a $75,000 line of credit to keep buying. So it was great to have this great property that cash flowed, and my wife could, stay at home without the financial stress of losing her job. But what was way more valuable in that is I realized that it didn't have to be my 20% deposit for every deal that I do. And that just changed everything. In less than 2 years, we bought 50 units and achieved our goal of, the financial freedom, passive income exceeding our, it's not passive because I self-manage, but investment income exceeding our living expenses. And it all came from the concept. And, it doesn't have to be a hard money loan or a private loan. A couple months back, we did a talk on infinite returns, and I showed about 6 different deals where that was a part of it. But there's probably people sitting in this room that have bought property 5, 10, 15 years ago that you have equity, and a lot of times people don't even look at the creative side of what you can do with that. Now obviously, starting 7 years ago in an environment where the properties are going up, it's a whole lot easier to buy something undervalued, improve the value, refinance your capital out. It's a different time right now. Those deals are still out there, they're just harder to find. But looking at what resources you have, where it doesn't take your hard-earned effort every day, saving those dollars to get up to a 20% down payment, and knowing some of the keys of buying something, improving value, refinancing your capital out, and then you can take that same piece of equity, ding, 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 ding. That's what my wife and I did. It completely changed our lives. So, infinite returns is something that feels impossible if you don't understand real estate investing. I mean, how can you make money with none of your money in it? But it's incredible. So take some time and learn that if you haven't. If you have some resources that you're not sure how to optimize, get around some people that have been successful with creative deal structuring and growing a portfolio, because there's a lot of options to you that you may not have considered. But being open to different ways of investing instead of just the traditional cookie cutter approach is powerful, and it adds up over time.
Infinite returns is absolutely amazing, and what we mean by that is if you went and bought stock, let's say you bought $100,000 worth of Apple stock from your stockbroker, you sent them a check for $100,000 and they started sending you dividends. I don't know that Apple stocks, I don't own stocks, don't believe in stocks, and you'll hear why when you hear the rest of my little thing here. But let's assume that Apple was sending you dividends each month or each year or whenever, and after a year of doing that, you called your stockbroker back and said, hey, you know that Apple stock? I'd like if you'd send me my $100,000 back. And he says, okay, I'll sell the stock and send it back. You say, no, but I want you to keep paying me the dividends. How many of you have a stockbroker who says, okay, I'll execute that right away, you'll get your dividend check tomorrow along with your $100,000 back? Does that ever happen to anyone? Absolutely not. But in real estate, that does and can happen. And the reason it can and does happen is because you can borrow more money for the property than it cost you, including the down payment that you put in it. In that case, you have all of your capital back, but you still own the property forever. That's like impossible. And so the reason we call it infinite returns is because when your basis is zero, if you buy a property for $10,000 cash and you go and borrow $80,000, or let's say you borrow $40,000, so you bought a $50,000 property for $10,000, and then next year you borrow some more money and you get that $10,000 back. How much do you have invested in that property? Zero. So when you do the math of what your returns are, when you had $10,000 in and you were getting $1,000 a year back, you could divide the 10,000 by 1,000, you'd have a 10% return, or the other way around. But when you have zero, you can't divide by zero, so whatever returns you have are against nothing, so you've got infinite returns. Okay, this is too late for math, of course, but I'm hoping that you get the idea, even though you seem terribly uninterested from here.
All right, let's go to key number 3. Jerry.
Discover, celebrate, and develop your unique gifts. I think it was last month when we had Claire here, I was talking a bit about the importance of knowing who you are and celebrating who you are rather than always feeling like you're never quite enough, like you just don't have the gifts that other people have. Maybe you know somebody who's a spreadsheet genius, which I happen to be, and you're not, and you find that difficult. Or maybe you know somebody who can, go out and find deals like crazy, but you're having a hard time finding deals. So it's not about looking at what you can't do. I think everything about our culture is designed to make us all feel like we should be exactly alike. God hasn't made us to all be alike. He has given you the most amazing gifts that you will ever need to be outrageously successful beyond anything you can ever imagine, ask, or think. And the key to understanding that is to begin understanding who you are and celebrate it. I'll be honest with you, when I was in school, I was like out of a class of 283 that I graduated from Ephrata High School, I was like the third from the bottom in that class. And that's the truth. And I knew the entire time that I was in school that school was not designed for somebody like me. School was designed, I told this to my mom when I was a kid. She didn't get it, didn't agree with me, she was wrong. I told her, the reason I don't like school is designed to create factory workers for people who understand how the system works. That's not who I'm going to be. So I didn't engage because it didn't make any sense. I barely passed through anything. By the way, I've never played sports in my life because I'm no good at it. Guess what else I don't do? I don't play piano, I don't sing, I don't run, I don't even dance anymore.
But you were a good dancer.
But I was a good dancer at one time, but I don't remember how that works. That was a long time ago. My point is this. Look, whatever you don't do and whatever you're not good at, that's fine. God's not up there scratching his head thinking, I just don't know what to do with this guy. He gave you everything you need to become the most amazing person on the planet. And the best thing you can do, instead of bemoaning what you don't have, is celebrate who God made you and the amazing gifts that you have. And you can find whatever you need to complete the picture. Is this making sense to anyone?
Love it. I have a friend who says, the more you're able to be yourself, the more God's able to move his power through you in your life, open doors of opportunity. And the more we try to be like somebody else, the more he's like, okay, that's like not who I made you to be. Good luck with your life. How can he partner with you to accomplish who he's created you to be if you're trying to be Joe Neighbor instead of being who he created you to be?
Exactly.
So I love that. All right, key number 4, personal development. So, a lot of people, just like we just got done talking about, people have different ways to look at reality. I am so convinced that there's more to this life than the 3 dimensions that we get taught about in school. And if you can't measure it in a laboratory and reproduce the results, then it doesn't exist. Thankfully, they're coming out with quantum physics studies where actually the human person influences reality. There's a test where they randomly sent a beam of light around a certain, it's like different, how I understood it was different mirrors. And there was a probability, 8 times out of 10 it would go this way, 2 times out of 10 it would go that way. A different test would be, 4 times this way, 6 times that way. So they found at this quantum level that if nobody is watching what happens until it gets to the end, it displays like a probability instead of an actual result. But if you insert an observation in the path of this photon's travel, it becomes a definite answer at the end. So it's kind of a, maybe a concept that's hard to get your head wrapped around. But the conclusion was, if there's a human participating, and if there's perspective, a lot of reality is actually up for grasp. It's up for grabs. And depending on if we're paying attention or not, depending on if we will respond or not, different realities come into crystallization. So personal development is huge for me because, man, being successful, having a lot of responsibility isn't easy. You know, I think if before you have stuff, you think, oh, if I just had this or that, you know, that would be nice. Well, how about supporting the weight of responsibility that it takes to make some of the success fruit possible? So personal development is about building yourself up, becoming a different person on the inside so that you're qualified to support the roles and responsibilities that God wants to put you in on the outside. So he's not going to put something on you that you may think you want if you don't have the internal development and structure to support it. So a lot of people focus on, they want external things where, you know, I'm pursuing external things, but more than all of that, I'm pursuing internal growth. Because when I become the person that can support the dreams and the visions that I have for my future, that's when those things are going to come, not just me chasing those. So taking a step back, becoming a different person, developing myself, character, skills, that's where success comes from, to me.
It sure does. The most important possession that you have. Who knows in this room, what is the most important thing that you possess? It's your mind and your thoughts. And so above everything else, protect those things. Protect what goes on in your mind, because that is who you become. And that becomes your interpreter for all of reality, which has everything to do with the decision you make. Why is it that two people can have the same job side by side, work for 20 or 30 years together, have the exact same income, be of the same race, have the same IQ, have the same everything, and yet at the end of 20 or 30 or 40 years, one of them will have amassed a fortune and the other one will be underwater in debt. And yet they had exactly the same income stream. It's because of what went on between their ears in their mind. And it's because they interpreted reality differently, depended on how developed their internal being was. So it's one of the most important things.
Jerry, key number 5.
Number 5. Do what only you can do. I think I mentioned this last month when we were together as well. And that's when I was young. I mean, I think this is probably true of most of us who have been born here in Lancaster County. We just work really hard because that works. You know, when you work something really hard, two things happen. One is it gets done, and 2 is it gets done exactly like you wanted it. And 3 is you didn't waste any money paying somebody else to do it or having to go through the annoying pain of trying to explain it 3 times and then make them come back and do it the way you wanted it done the last time. So most of us just acquiesce and give up on that because the psychology of it is just too painful. So we would just do it ourselves. Interestingly enough, this it's crazy because I have traveled the whole world. I have here in the front row one of my very best friends in the entire world who's not even paying attention. He's reading his iPhone. But this is my friend.
He's
Mickey.
taking notes on what you're saying.
He's taking notes on what I'm saying, I'm sure. So Mickey is one of my best friends in the entire world. I've known him for many, many years, 35 years actually. And he's from India. And so I've actually traveled throughout Asia with India. Yeah, something like that. throughout Asia with Mickey. And I was astonished to find that this is the world right here in the United States. This is the world of do-it-yourself. Nobody else in the rest of the world does this. They think it's stupid. Like, why would you unclogged your own drain? You like took apart the trap and dumped out that human waste and clean. You don't have servants to do that? I said, nobody has servants in the U.S. Well, in any other country, everybody has like a plethora of servants. They don't sweep the floor. If they drop something, somebody else rushes in, picks it up, and takes care of it. And even if they're not wealthy people. But here, you'll find millionaires walking the aisles of Home Depot, you know, buying a plumbing fitting, buying a drill, buying a screwdriver or a fan, because that's the way we think. No one's getting this, right? You're all thinking, yeah, that's not me. No, that is you. That's like totally you. So my point here is, whenever we're doing whatever it is that we do, we're worth exactly what we could have paid somebody else to do that. Now, most of us, you know, honestly, this is a personality flaw. Not my personality flaw, this is your personality flaw that I'm talking about. And the personality flaw I'm going to describe is this. Most of us tell ourselves that that's okay because we're such high quality of excellence, nobody would ever do it as good as we do. Well, good for you. I hope you enjoy your old age when you're broke and you have the nicest kitchen sink in the neighborhood because you did it yourself. I am telling you, that is a personality flaw. Look at your neighbor and say, get over your personality flaw. Because my point is this. Whatever you're doing with your hours in the day, you are worth exactly what you could have paid somebody else to do that. So no matter how smart you are, if you're a brain surgeon and you can make $1 million an hour operating on somebody's brain, but you enjoy mowing the yard, you are worth $15 an hour. That's just exactly the math of what it is. So at the end of your life, what do you want to say? I enjoyed mowing the yard a lot. You know, I did it every week. This year I finally got to the end of I got a little bit overloaded, so I sent my wife a text saying, hey, by the way, some guys are coming to mow the yard this afternoon, which is something I've always done, because I love mowing the yard. Nobody calls me. Well, they do, but I don't answer.
I thought you said this wasn't your personality flaw.
This was their personality fault. See, I'm over it now. But you're still there. That's what I'm trying to explain. So back when I had your problem, it looked like this. So I used to come home and mow the yard, and I'd be thinking while I was mowing the yard, I could be doing a real estate deal right now, but that would require mental processes and deep thought and risk, because you could buy something that could turn out badly. There's no risk in mowing the yard. You know, I mean, you might hit a stone, you know, but that's about as bad as it gets. So I was enjoying mowing the yard all summer, and then I just kind of became overwhelmed with my responsibilities at work. So I texted Sue and said, by the way, I hired somebody. You see some guys showing up to mow the yard. I did that. It's not strangers who are just trying out their lawnmower. So she texted me back and said, I am so proud of you for making this decision. And I just burst out laughing because I thought, I don't get it. She said, your life is worth so much more than mowing the lawn. And to have a wife that believes that about you is pretty darn sweet. But my point is this. My point is this. You know, there's all those things that we love to do that we think are so important. You know, maybe you do your own tinkering. Maybe you do your own managing of your own real estate. And that's all great. But guess what? While you're unclogging those toilets, nothing is happening that is helping your life. And when you get to the end of the year and say, gee, I only made, pick a number. It's because you chose to do things because it was easier than calling someone who could have done it for virtually nothing. Is this making sense to anyone? So I'm trying to make the point, this is a Lancaster County Amish Mennonite personality flaw, just to be honest. And the rest of the world laughs when they hear that we're actually like this. Like, are you like retarded? Why would anyone do that? You know, you hire a servant to do that. Why would you do that? Well, you do that because it's our way of life. You know, that's just the way we are. But we can't afford to be that way. God has higher plans, a higher destiny, and wealth in store for you if you are willing to embrace the gifts that He put in you and hire whatever you can hire. So any time that you are doing something you could have paid someone else to do, you are not fulfilling your destiny, and you are worth exactly what it would have cost to pay somebody else. And be completely honest with yourself. 5 years from now, is anybody going to care if there were skippers in your lawn? Or if the guy who mowed the lawn blew grass into your new mulch and now it's turning brown and ugly? Honestly, 5 years from now, is that going to have anything to do with your life at all? Nothing. So my point is, yes, excellent is a wonderful thing, but not if you're exchanging who you really need to be so that you can have little details just the right way that you want them. You need to decide what life should look like in 5 or 10 years and make the hard decisions that your life is worth more than getting all mangled up in the details that will never produce the dreams that you have. Is that okay that I said that? So give me a hand then, because that was awesome.
I love it. All right, key number 6, authenticity, both in public and in private. So what do I mean by that? You know, a lot of people see authenticity, or let me back up. Have you ever met somebody where it seems like they are the operator of a robot? Where you can almost see the facade that they're putting in front of you, and then you can see the little man working the levers behind, and it's just so robotic, you're like, okay, Why do you think this is helping you or working for you? In our culture of marketing and movies and beautiful this and beautiful that, there's so much. That's interesting. Let's try this. I didn't do it. Well. All right, so in this culture, where everything's about the external, and a lot of people put so much energy and effort on what their external image looks like, I believe that's completely counterproductive to success. All right, this isn't going to work.
Well, try turning that one off, and this one is not doing it because I turned it off. Switch one else. Try this.
All right, look at that.
It's you. It's not the mic. It's you.
How about now? What the world? Try that one.
Okay, is this one working again? All right, this is working. And it's still making noise. So it's probably neither of the mics. It's not the input. It's obviously the amp and its output.
Julie, maybe you could go for some help. Well,
Can you hear us if we don't use these? If we just act like ordinary human beings?
all right. Great. We will project. But we got to turn that off at least.
That's true. What we turned off was not the problem.
All right. I'm not sure what to do. Hey, Julie, could you go ask for some help from the tech if nobody else has?
You can just push the button on the wall.
There's a button on the wall.
Yeah.
That's what he said for help earlier.
Sorry, guys. This is fun. Got a beat to it now.
Any rappers in the group?
Yeah, I pulled that out. Let's see where that goes and pull that out. Yeah, we will. Yeah, pull it out.
Well, let's just carry on until we get a result.
You guys want me to carry on?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, authenticity. So there's a lot of effort put into the external image where I believe that's completely counterproductive. So being who you are is the best way, hey, somebody fix something, is the best way to be successful. So a lot of people look at short-term results. We had a quote up from Warren Buffett the other month where something about the reputation that you build takes 20 years to build up, 5 minutes to destroy. And if we would put energy and effort into that long-term reputation and how we treat people, how we conduct business, how we care about other people, if we're the kind of person to do business with that we would want somebody else to do for us, just being a real person builds deep relationships, and relationships are the foundation of business. So on the public side, just being who you actually are and not trying to alter who you are based on what you think other people expect, what other people would like, what other people would buy from, is going to build your reputation, and that's what's going to carry. Let's see if this goes again now that we have some professional help. Austin, do you want to put this back where you had them? Okay, let's try again. So being that person and having the reputation is what is going to multiply your success as the years go on. And then private. Again, I'm just so convinced that what you do when nobody is looking affects your output and outcome more than our culture understands and respects. So, again, we think that only what people see, only what people can bust us for, is what matters. We all, every day, all the time, have ways that we can cheat other people, ourselves, our family, make decisions that we benefit from that cost other people, but they'll never know. I believe those things are the limiter for your success. What you do when nobody's watching, when nobody would know, when nobody's looking, is massively important. Massively important.
This is minor.
This is minor.
Minor inconvenience.
Maybe unplug it again.
Yeah, I can turn it off. Jerry, any comments on that?
Yeah, it's about who you are. And the greatest gift and the greatest success secret and key is showing up with your best self and not trying to present something, not trying to be something that we're not. Everyone feels that. Everyone knows when we show up being who we are and when we show up trying to give an image that we're not. Everyone in the room feels that. The best thing any one of us can do is to show up exactly who we are. I learned when I was young, I was running around with a guy who was extremely wealthy and successful in everything he did. And I was always amazed that he never dressed or looked like he was trying to impress anyone. He always was himself. And I thought to myself, wow, you know what? When you're really wealthy and really successful, you can be who you want to be. I learned that when I was like 18. And I decided, I don't wear a suit. I go to a banker's meeting and I don't dress like a banker. I don't drive a black Mercedes, even though that would be the most impressive power car that most American business people drive. I'm not knocking that to any of you in the room who drive a black Mercedes. That's great. I think it looks awesome. It's just not who I am. It's not who I want to be. And I'm not going to adjust my presentation so that you think I'm something that I don't think I am. Does that make sense? So there is such power that most people don't realize that when people sense your personal integrity, that is, integrity simply means oneness. It means I am who I look like. And when people sense your personal integrity and know that there's no conflict in you between the picture you're showing and who you really are, there's a supernatural connection because they feel safe to trust you. That's one of the most powerful success truths that I can throw out there, which is exactly what you were saying.
It's awesome.
By the way, when I say that noise is just a minor inconvenience, I am telling you, it's just a minor inconvenience. It shouldn't even bother us. I remember a time 20 years ago when Nikki and I were speaking at a church in Africa, and it was a dark night, and we had just gotten started, and somebody dug a hole and stole the copper wire that powered the church. I mean, I would have thought they would have gotten shocked because they have like 250 volts there, not what we had. And it was pitch blackness. We decided, do you remember that? So we decided just to keep on talking, and nobody left the room. We finished the entire service for like another hour in total blackness. We just decided, hey, we flew all this way. The lights don't work. We do. So
Yeah.
it was
Awesome. Awesome. Whoa, bonus. We're in bonus territory.
Choose your friends and associations wisely. Nothing will be an indicator of your future quite like who you surround yourself with. And it's not just the fact that maybe you have a friend who's wealthy and wants to do business with you, or who would introduce you to someone who does. That's kind of like extra stuff that may or may not happen. But the most important thing that happens with the people that you choose to be friends with is you will become like them. What is in their life will become your normal. It will become your expectation. It will become what seems right to you. It will become what seems safe to you. So I'm not insulting anyone when I say this, so please forgive me if if what I'm about to say is offensive. It's not my intention. But what I'm going to say is if you live in a trailer park and all of your friends live in that trailer park, that seems normal to you. And that's not wrong, and I'm not saying it shouldn't seem normal to you. I'm just saying, if you don't surround yourself with pictures and with lifestyle of people who think differently on another level than you do, you'll never be able to see past that. Does that make sense? You become, more than anything else, like the people that you spend time with and the books that you read. Because when you're doing those things, you're actually programming your own brain as to what's normal and what your brain should expect. If you watch the news and you hear that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you will do your investment planning accordingly, preparing for hell in a handbasket. So you cannot afford to put that stuff into your brain and have that influence your thinking. God has created you to be a creator, to come up with thoughts that will change the course of history for the world. You are not a consumer. Everything about our culture is designed to keep you in a place where you're just generating an economy for other people who think they rule the world. That's not who you want to be, and it's not who God created you to be. You can break out of that box anytime you decide that the news is not your mental food. Anytime that you decide that you have thoughts that are higher than better than that because your life is worth more than that, you can opt out of that crazy system and become the most amazing person beyond your wildest dreams or imagination. And it will have a lot to do with who you choose to surround yourself with.
And there's a healthy progression to your friends. I see a lot of people that feel guilty or feel a false sense of loyalty to people who are not healthy for them to be around. Because, hey, I grew up with that person, or hey, we were best friends in high school. You have a destiny and a calling that only you can fulfill, and it's your responsibility to protect that. Part of protecting that is keeping it away and keeping yourself away from negative influences, from people who just want to drag you down, who want to remind you who you were yesterday, who you were last month, who you were last year, and want to hold you in a certain place instead of see you grow into everything that you've been created to be. So this false sense of loyalty where you can't let go of some of the people in your life is keeping you from fulfilling what you've been put on this planet to do. And when we have the day of reckoning, that's not going to be a good enough excuse to just say, oh, I never became who you created me to be because Johnny from 3rd grade needed a friend. So we have to trust enough that God will bring good friends to the people that we need to healthily grow past, and it doesn't always have to be us. Sometimes we are that friend to somebody, and it's okay to have a relationship where you know you are giving to them, that you're a source of strength to them. But if it isn't healthy, then pretty soon they're sucking from you, they're never progressing in life, and you're sacrificing your destiny because you have a nagging feeling that you should be their friend. Like, really? Like, we need to know when it's time to allow God to bring in new people into our lives so that we can become who we've been created to be.
Absolutely.
All right, I get a bonus too. Learning means doing and not hearing. Our culture thinks schooling and being educated means attending a certain number of classes and getting a piece of paper. And then there's these elevated mindsets that, okay, now I know more than the person who hasn't done that. Well, the rest of the world actually doesn't think that way. So that's a Western, egotistical, proud mindset that the rest of the world doesn't understand. The rest of the world is saying, hey, you can either produce something or you can't. Education is experiential. I remember when we were talking about buying our first investment property, and I just came off the mission field and I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, and my wife had worked hard and gone without a lot that she could have had and saved up 25 grand. And when we got married, I'd read a bunch of books on real estate investing, but never did anything. So we're talking about our first investment, and she's like not feeling it, and wonder why. We came around, but the point is, my sales pitch was, hey, even if we lose everything, we'll actually be learning. which was a bad sales pitch.
Probably didn't swing the balance right there.
A bad sales pitch, but it was actually true. So we're only going to learn so much from reading a book. At some time, we have to pull the trigger. And now I believe education and these meetings and reading books and watching seminars, I feel like all it is to build us up in our courage, in our optimism. There's some education that goes into it, but the education starts when you pull the trigger. The education starts when you buy a property, when you make an investment. That's when you start learning. The rest of this stuff is just to get you to believe that you could be successful by putting into practice what you see in other people. So don't let coming to these meetings, reading books, having a diploma, don't allow that to make you feel like, hey, you're really accomplishing stuff. I honor education, and it's awesome. It's a beautiful thing. But it's very different from being able to replicate and produce results, which is actually what matters. And the real learning is in the doing, it's not in the hearing. So as you come to these, just remember, I feel like a lot of people are pulling back, if there's a balance, people are pulling back, waiting for something to push them over into making a decision that changes their life. Buying a property, making an investment, calling that successful person that you feel like you should get together with. We need to be leaning forward. Nobody's driving this ship but us. We don't get a second round at this life. We get one chance to come through and do what we feel like we need to do. So as you're evaluating things and making decisions for your life, just don't be passive. Don't just sit back. I'm hearing good things. I'm listening to good people. I'm reading good books. It's awesome, but it's not enough. So get out there and pull the trigger.
You bet. Great word.
Awesome. All right, well, now is when our beautiful video comes up. Should we even try it?
Yes, let's try.
All right, let's try it. Thank you, sir. Did we plug it back in underneath? Oh, you know what? Boy, I am really wrong. We're doing a recap. No, we're just going through the 8 keys just as a recap.
Ah, yes, okay.
So key number 1, journaling. Key number 2, infinite returns. I'll put them all up there. I see people taking their phone out to take a picture. Oh, Mom, I didn't put yours in here.
That's okay.
Gratitude.
Okay, you move out of the way now.
Key number
Yes,
1.
that way.
Key 1A is gratitude. We have infinite returns. Discover, celebrate, and develop your unique gifts. Keep working on yourself and personal development. Do only what you can do. Be authentic when people can see you and even when they can't. Choose your friends and associations wisely. And learning means doing and not hearing. All right, was that helpful for you guys? All right, now this is going to be fun. So we put together this trivia time. We're going to ask some questions. This is commercial real estate investing trivia. Okay, so you get to test your knowledge, even if you're not the one answering. If you know the answer, you can give yourself a pat on the back because you know the right answer. As if that was enough.
And by commercial real estate, we mean everything except the house you live in.
Sure, that's fine. And it's specifically at least 5 residential units and above when we get to the commercial financing portion, which Ben will answer. All right, so if you think you know the answer, raise your hand. And if you answer correctly, we have a lovely array of prizes. We don't want this to get too bogged down, so just as you come up, or if you answer it right, just come up and take anything off the table here as a free gift, and we'll move on to the next one. All right, here we go. Jerry, why don't you do this one? This one's
So
here.
what is the name of the rule that is the first test of a property's investment viability?
1% rule?
Yes, sir. All right.
1%.
Good in the head. It's the 1% rule. Okay, who can define the 1% rule? Well, it's too bad you couldn't have waited until that was up to answer the question. All right.
Rent should be equal to 1% of the ARV or value of that.
Very good. Come on down.
Chris.
Chris, congratulations.
Hey, Chris. Hi.
The answer was that the property's monthly rent should be 1% of the purchase price or the after repair value.
1% or more.
So whatever you bought a property for, if it's $100,000, it should rent for at least $1,000 per month. That's just a very quick test. If it's renting for $500, you know that's a horrible deal.
Yeah, so if it's less than 1%, you don't need to do the math. You don't need to go see it. You can just walk away.
In determining a commercial property's value, what two numbers would you need to know? Raise your hand. Don't just yell it. That's one of them. Income and expense would give you what?
Net operating income.
And?
Cap rate.
And cap rate. Yep, that's it. So for commercial property, it's valued based on, come on up and get a prize, sir. Commercial property is valued based on the net operating income, which is your income minus expenses before debt service. So your net operating income and your cap rate. I think I just answered the next question.
Hey.
Do I get to pick a prize?
No, but you get to see if anyone else heard you.
Yeah, who can say it? Yes, sir.
It's your gross rents minus the vacancy loss minus operating expenses.
All right.
Awesome. Yep. That's
Come
right.
on down.
All right. Who's the brave soul that can define the capitalization rate or cap rate? Yes, sir, Nate.
I would define it as your net operating income divided by the purchase price. That's the calculation for it.
Can we accept that answer?
Yes and no.
I
It's
won't come up for a
mathematically
prize.
correct. We can accept that answer.
No,
Come
no,
on
no.
down. But while you're coming down, please. Come on down. The answer I was looking for, and you know the answer I was looking for, so go ahead and say it.
No, go
Oh,
ahead.
please, by
No,
all means.
now I'm on the spot, yeah.
No. You're right in the front of the room. This is the perfect
Yeah,
time to
not
explain how you think about cap rate. How does it make you feel when you hear the word?
Am I buying or selling?
That's a good point. So if you're buying, how does the cap rate make you feel?
The higher the better.
Yes, and what if you're selling?
The lower the better.
Wow, that seems a little odd, don't you think?
It does.
Which is why most people get confused who don't work with cap rates on a regular basis. So how would you compare cap rate to like a bank account?
Where were you last Friday?
I explained all this last night. I thought this was a free.
Am I right? Let me all
No, you're not. Your
Okay,
beard
good.
is doing a great job.
Oh, good.
It's like your return on your interest rate on your
Yeah.
bank
It's
account.
exactly like an
Much
interest
better than my
rate.
bank account right now.
Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely. All right. Everybody give it up for
So a simple way to think about cap rate is if you took $100,000 and you say you had $200,000, $100,000 you put in a bank account and $100,000 you bought a property cash. So cap rate has nothing to do with your debt. Your mortgage terms has nothing to do with that. So take $100,000, put it in the bank, $100,000, put it in a property. Your income from that property for the year, the percentage-wise, is your cap rate. The percentage from your bank account for the year is effectively your cap rate for your bank account. So if a property is, if you have $100,000 in a property and somebody says, oh, that's a 10 cap property, how much would you have made in that year? $10,000.
It's a little confusing because there's two tens involved. So let's say if it's not 100, let's say it's $50,000 you invested in, it's a 10 cap.
$5,000.
$5,000.
So it's, okay. Now in the bank account you get 1%. So that's a 1% cap property. I mean, it's not a property, but so that's how you think about a cap rate. Okay? We could go deep with that, but we'll save that for another night. All right. What are the two most common SEC federal securities exemptions? We're looking for 3 numbers and a letter.
Oh.
It's it. You already answered one. Cornell.
506B, 506C.
You got it.
All right, yay, Cornell.
So when syndications get put together, the most common exemptions, congratulations, sir. Under Regulation D, it's called a 506B and a 506C. Now, who can tell us the difference between Regulation D, 506B, and 506C? Yes, sir, Matt.
One is for accredited investors and one is for non-accredited.
Which one's which?
506C is for accredited investors, 506B is for non-accredited.
We'll take it.
That is very true.
Yep.
Thank you. There's one other subtle difference that.
Let's let somebody else. Sorry.
Loose lips.
So his answer was one of them, it takes accredited only investors, and another one allows unaccredited investors. But they do have to be sophisticated. All right, what's
That means
another?
like a suit, preferably a tie, maybe a top hat if it's near the weekend.
How many times do you own investor? Yes. All right, so there's another major difference. Did I see John's hand?
506B can be publicly presented, whereas the 506C must be within your network.
You were so close. So I'm sorry, sir, we cannot accept that answer. It's the exact opposite. So 506B is like a friends and family investment. So if you think about, how do you think about that? I was going to say, unaccredited investors are in a B, and you can't advertise in a B. Accredited investors only in a C, and you can advertise in a 506C.
So a 506B is only for people that you have a pre-existing relationship with. They can be accredited, and you're allowed to have up to 30 unaccredited investors in one particular project.
35, but he's done. Sorry.
I was so close. No book for me.
Yeah, right. What is the most important factor to a bank when they consider financing commercial real estate?
Being paid back.
That's true. Now, if this was a residential mortgage, it would be the borrower's capacity, right? So this is commercial.
The money it makes.
The money it makes, the cash flow. Yep, absolutely. Right answer. Please come choose a prize, my friend. Well done. Congratulations. If you have a great cash flowing deal that you want to buy, but you don't have enough money, who should you call? That is the wrong answer, man.
Private investor.
No, that's not right either. I'm sorry.
Sorry, private money.
This is supposed to be a joke.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's true, but it's... John?
Oh, you and Jerry.
Thank you.
Hey, all right.
I tried to sneak one in there to see if you guys were paying attention. You still get a prize. Yes, sir. What is the definition of DSCR?
Debt service coverage.
Debt service coverage ratio. Yes, sir. You get yourself a prize. And what is the typical debt service coverage ratio requirements for most commercial lenders?
1.2.
You have to raise your hand. You're my brother, but you still have to raise your hand. 1.2, yep.
All right, Mark. Yay. So who can tell us the math of how you figure out, what does that 1.2 mean?
Bonus question. How do you come up with what the debt coverage ratio is? John?
Monthly rent versus DITI.
Close, but not quite. Yes, sir.
Income has the service of debt plus 20%.
Right. So the net operating income, so all income after expenses, not just the gross, has to cover your debt. Sir, please come up and get a prize. Has to cover. So your net operating income, your net income after expenses has to cover your debt payment fully plus another 20%, and usually it's 25%. So it can go down as low as another 10%, but usually for a healthy deal. And you don't want to buy a property that's less than a 1.2, 1.25 debt coverage ratio anyway. Any more? Yeah, we do. Jerry, do you want to?
Different than residential mortgages, many commercial loans do not require a personal guarantee. What is this provision called?
Non-recourse.
Non-recourse. Yes, sir.
Very
Well
good.
done, Jerry. All right, way to go.
All right, Corey.
Okay, I think this is the last one. Name 3 of the 5 ways a real estate investment pays you. Benuel?
Cash flow, debt pay down, and equity.
Equity from where?
I think it's from the debt pay down. Appreciation. That's pretty important. No. Price goes, value goes up over time.
Appreciation?
Appreciation.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate that answer.
Please come help yourself to a book. Anybody want to take a stab at the other 2? Depreciation, tax benefits, and an inflation hedge. Yeah, that was impressive.
All right.
So real estate investing, you have the cash flow. You're making a mortgage payment, so the principal portion of your mortgage payment increases your equity in the property. Over time, real estate appreciates, becomes more valuable. There's less real estate for more people. You have amazing tax benefits, and it's an inflation hedge, which is an aspect not a lot of people appreciate, but it's massively powerful. All right, thank you, everybody. That is our trivia for tonight.
One final trivia question. What is the best way to get started in real estate?
Do it.
Now.
Jump in.
Now. Now.
Yep.
Do it. All right. Way to go. Do it now. Absolutely.
Farouk, please, let's pull the trigger. Let's see if this thing works.
We have audio?
No.
Oh, you gotta plug this in.
Hey, that's gonna help.
Yep.
Anything? Well, we could watch some pretty pictures. Jerry's saying something amazing right now.
That was incredible. You should have been there.
All right, we're not going to watch a video without audio, I don't think so. But next time you
Maybe
can
next time.
look forward to a video. Whoa, that was cool. How do I not do that again? Okay, well, we have a promo video from our last summit that we will show next time. But for now, we're super excited to be doing it again. Back at the downtown Lancaster Marriott Convention Center. It'll be August 28th and 29th. So put that on your calendar. We're not selling tickets or anything yet, but we will be. But for now, save those dates. We have some awesome speakers that have confirmed. We have some other awesome ones we're in conversation with. So would love for everyone to be able to join us for that. How many people were at the one in June? Are you considering coming back? Cool, cool. Awesome. All right, couple last things. We have a book in the back that Jerry and I did with Kyle Wilson called Purpose, Passion, Profit. We talked a lot about those things tonight. Holiday season's coming up, so if you know someone that could use some inspiration on some of these things, they're in the back. They're $10 each or 3 for $25. It was an Amazon #1 bestseller. Our investor club. This is designed for investors who want to invest with a team approach. These are fully managed passive income opportunities. They're both non-public 506Bs and public 506Cs. And if you get involved, there's no obligation. So we have sign-ups, and I think in the back on your feedback form, you can check a little box that will get you included. And I think that concludes our evening. I have a couple more things to say. Kristen, if you want to say anything, you sure can. We're just so grateful to everybody that comes out to these. The caliber of the people in the room, I know many of you and your stories, the businesses you own, the real estate you own. It's just an honor and a privilege to be doing this with such a quality group of people. Have amazing volunteers. Lewis is doing a Facebook Live here tonight, so appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
A lot of you have stepped up and said, how can we help? I didn't have to put together the frame tonight. So a lot of people do. Doug, you've jumped in so much. I can't go through everybody because I'll leave a bunch out, so I'll just leave them out. Julie has been amazing. Julie joined our team back in May, and she's been a rock star. So amazing. Appreciate you so much. Sweetheart, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just to echo what Michael said, we so value you guys. It's been an amazing year getting to know a lot of you, and we're so excited for what's to come. It's been an amazing experience, so thanks for going on the journey with us. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
I've heard about deals that get done because people are relating in here, partnerships get formed, so it's just awesome. And with that, that's everything we do as a way to say thank you. The quote books that Mom had earlier with Zig Ziglar, there's 4 different ones back there. Jim Rohn is amazing. There's a quote book from Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and then kind of a compilation. It's called Success Quotes for Achievers or something like that. So that's our gift to everyone. Feel free to grab one as you leave. We have feedback forms that we'd love to hear from you with. And with that, God bless. Have an awesome evening. Thank you for joining us.